Welcome to the Deep Dive. This week, we're cutting through the noise, all those recent announcements.
Yeah, there's always a lot coming out of AWS.
We're zeroing in on the updates from June 16th through June 20th, 2025. A remarkably busy week, actually, with plenty for technical professionals like you to dissect.
That's right. Our mission today is really to distill these rapid-fire updates down into genuinely actionable insights. So you understand not just what's new, but more importantly, why it matters for your cloud architecture, your
Right,
operations.
the practical stuff.
Exactly. We'll be focusing on the technical implications, the performance gains you might unlock, and those crucial security enhancements that, really move the needle.
Okay, let's unpack this then. We've got a pretty comprehensive stack here. Compute, security, developer tools.
And more. Yeah.
Let's jump straight into some of the most impactful changes from this past week. Our first stop maybe makes sense to start with compute. That's where, many of your cloud workloads truly come to life.
Good place to start.
AWS is just relentless here, pursuing performance, efficiency, giving you more specialized options than ever, it feels like. Tailor-made for demanding apps.
Indeed. We're seeing significant advancements across both Graviton and Intel-based EC2 instances. The focus is really on specialized workloads, raw performance, and also crucial energy efficiency.
Okay, so maybe start with Graviton. What's new there?
Right, so on the Graviton side, the big news is the Amazon EC2 C8G and MAG instances. These are powered by the new Graviton 4 processors. They're now available in additional regions, C8G in Canada Central, Asia Pacific, Malaysia, MAG in Sao Paulo.
Graviton 4. Okay, what's the key difference there?
Well, what really stands out is the performance jump. Graviton 4 delivers up to 30% better performance compared to the Graviton 3 instances. And they offer substantially more vCPUs in memory, up to 3 times more, actually, than their Graviton 3 counterparts, the C7G and M7G.
3 times? Yeah.
And for specific workloads, this translates to up to 40% faster for databases.
40%, that's huge for database performance.
And 30% faster for web applications, 45% faster for large Java applications. It's not just raw speed, right? It's about potentially serving more users, maybe reducing compute costs, delivering a, snappier experience overall.
That's a significant jump with Graviton 4,
Mm-hmm.
but we're also still seeing Graviton 3 updates expanding their reach, aren't we?
Absolutely. They're not forgetting about Graviton 3. Amazon EC2 R7G instances running on Graviton 3 are now in AWS Asia Pacific, in Melbourne specifically. These offer up to 25% better compute performance than Graviton 2, and importantly, up to 60% less energy consumption for the same performance level.
60% less energy, that's quite significant.
It really is. And for I/O-intensive workloads, the Graviton 3-based Amazon EC2 C7GD instances have expanded. They're now in Asia Pacific, Osaka, Jakarta, and South America, Sao Paulo. These boast up to 3.8 terabytes of local NVMe SSD storage.
Wow, 3.8 terabytes locally.
Exactly, which gives you 45% improved real-time NVMe storage performance and that same 60% less energy use compared to similar Graviton 2 instances. So critical for apps needing that high-speed local storage.
Got it.
And just rounding out Graviton, the M7G instances are now available in AWS Africa, Cape Town, and Asia Pacific, Hong Kong, offering similar performance and energy benefits as the R7G.
Okay, so Graviton's clearly gaining significant ground, both new generations and broader global availability. But I know for many of our listeners, Intel-based instances are still, absolutely crucial. What new capabilities are we seeing on that front this week?
Absolutely. Intel Xeon scalable processors are definitely not being left behind. Some truly impactful updates there, too. First up, the Amazon EC2 i7i instances. They're now in AWS Europe, Spain. These are storage I/O optimized, powered by 5th generation Intel Xeon scalable processors.
Storage I/O optimized.
Mm-hmm.
What does it mean in practice?
It means they deliver up to 40% better compute performance and maybe more importantly, 20% better price performance over the older i3 instances. Plus, they have an impressive 120 terabytes of local NVMe storage density.
120 terabytes.
Yep, the highest in the cloud for this type of instance. So this really raises an important question for you, the listener. If your workloads are heavily bound by storage I/O, these could be a fundamental game changer.
Right, potentially dramatically improving throughput, reducing latency.
Exactly.
It sounds like they're really refining those specialized instance types for specific use cases. What about, say, high memory workloads or the more general purpose Intel options?
Yeah, good question. For high memory needs, the 8 terabyte size of the Amazon EC2 U7i high memory instances is now available in US West Oregon. These run on custom 4th generation Intel Xeon scalable processors. Ideal for those mission-critical in-memory databases, think SAP HANA, Oracle SQL Server. They offer 8 terabytes of DDR5 memory and up to 100 gigabits per second network bandwidth. Massive specs.
Definitely for the heavy hitters.
Right. Then, for more general and compute-optimized workloads, we're seeing expanded availability of the C7i Flex, C7i, M7i Flex, and M7i instances. They're popping up in regions like Asia-Pacific, Hong Kong, and Europe, Zurich. These also use those custom 4th-gen Intel Xeon scalable processors. They offer pretty significant performance gains over comparable by 86 Intel processors from, other cloud providers.
And those Flex variants, what's the deal there?
Yes, the Flex instances like C7i Flex and M7i Flex. They're particularly interesting because they deliver up to 19% better price performance, but specifically for workloads that don't continuously max out their CPU resources. So it gives you more efficient scaling if your load is bursty or variable.
Makes sense. Sort of pay for what you need more granular.
Exactly. And just quickly, there are also new, larger M7i Flex sizes, 12x large and 16 large, now available in AWS Europe, London. So more options in the Flex portfolio for bigger memory needs.
That is a lot of new hardware to consider. It really underscores AWS's commitment to, providing specialized instances for nearly every conceivable workload.
Right. High-performance computing, general-purpose apps.
And with that clear focus on efficiency and regional coverage, too.
Indeed. And alongside all this new metal, we're seeing continued efforts to optimize costs, which is always welcome.
Definitely. What's new on the cost optimization side?
Well, Amazon RDS for Oracle now offers reserved instances for those R7i and M7i instance types we just talked about. You can get up to 46% cost savings compared to on-demand prices.
46% is quite a saving for RDS Oracle.
It is, and what's particularly helpful here is the size flexibility for buy-bring-your-own licensed Oracle database engines. It means the discounted rates apply across any size within the same instance family, so much more flexibility if you're bringing existing Oracle licenses.
Oh, that's good. Size flexibility on IaaS is always a plus. Anything else on optimization?
Yep. EC2 instance savings plans for P5 and P5en instances, those are the high-performance GPU ones, now have a new 1-year option available. Offer savings up to 40% over on-demand, complementing the existing 3-year term. Gives you a bit more flexibility on committed.
A 1-year option, good.
And finally on this, AWS Compute Optimizer has a neat new feature. It now identifies idle C2 auto-scaling groups that are using GPU instances, specifically the GMP types.
Oh, that could save some serious money.
Yeah.
GPUs aren't cheap.
Exactly. It analyzes utilization data and flags groups that have, finished their jobs but stayed running and idle. Helps you proactively cut waste on those expensive instances.
Okay, great updates on the compute and cost side. Let's shift gears. Moving from raw performance to, rock-solid protection. It seems like security was a massive focus this week. Lots of updates aimed at strengthening your defenses.
Definitely. A very busy week for security. There are several significant announcements providing deeper visibility, better control, and simpler security management.
Where do we start? Maybe something for developers.
Good idea. Amazon Inspector Code Security has hit general availability, GA. This is a really critical shift-left capability.
Shift-left, meaning earlier in the process.
Exactly. It helps you find and, importantly, fix security vulnerabilities directly in your application source code, your dependencies, even your infrastructure as code or IAC. And it does this before it even gets deployed to production.
Right, catching things early. How does it integrate?
It integrates natively with GitHub and GitLab. So it provides findings right within your source code management platform, giving developers really fast feedback.
Okay, that's a big step for embedding security earlier. What about runtime protection, especially for, say, container users?
Right. Amazon GuardDuty has a major enhancement. Extended threat detection for EKS. GuardDuty now covers multi-stage attacks, specifically targeting your Amazon EKS clusters.
Multi-stage attacks, so more complex threats.
Precisely. It correlates security signals across different sources, EKS audit logs, process runtime behavior, any malware execution, AWS API activity, and it pulls all that together to detect complex attack patterns. Then it presents them as a single critical severity finding. You get an incident summary, even ITRE, AT, and CK mapping.
That sounds incredibly powerful for EKS environments.
It really is, and it raises an important question for listeners. How quickly can you integrate this new level of, comprehensive EKS threat detection into your existing security ops. It could really help you catch sophisticated threats proactively.
Good point. Okay, powerful stuff for EKS. What about broader network security visibility and maybe proactive defense?
Two key updates there. First, AWS Shield Network Security Director is now in preview. This is a new capability giving you crucial visibility into your network topology. It identifies missing or misconfigured network security services, think WebIF, security groups, and ACLs.
Oh, finding the gaps.
Exactly. And it even recommends remediation steps. Plus, it can answer natural language questions about your network security through Amazon Q Developer.
Asking Q about your network security.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah. And complementing this, AWS Network Firewall now offers active threat defense. This provides automated, intelligence-driven protection against dynamic, ongoing threats that AWS observes across its global infrastructure. It uses Amazon's own threat intelligence.
So it's learning from the wider AWS ecosystem.
That's the idea. You can configure managed rule groups to automatically block suspicious traffic, like command and control communication or known malicious domains.
That's a lot of smart layers of defense getting, well, smarter. How about identity and access management? IAM. Anything new there?
Yes, a couple of important ones. First, IAM Access Analyzer has a new trick. It now identifies who within your AWS organization has access to your key resources, like Amazon S3 buckets, DynamoDB tables, or RDS databases.
Within the org, so not just external.
Right. It looks at all policy types, identity policies, resource policies, SCPs, RCPs, everything. To surface all IAM users and roles that have access, it gives you a true 360-degree view of who can access critical resources internally. Much more precise control.
That sounds really useful for internal governance and auditing.
Absolutely. And the other big one, a really significant security milestone, actually. AWS IAM is now enforcing MFA multi-factor authentication for root users across all account types.
All account types, including member accounts in an organization.
Yes. This expands mandatory MFA to member accounts within AWS organizations. It's a massive step forward for baseline security.
That is huge. MFA is such a critical best practice.
It really is. AWS stats show MFA prevents over 99% of password-related attacks. So while, it might require some internal process adjustments for some organizations.
Right, maybe some legacy processes need updating.
Potentially, but the security benefits are just overwhelming. If we connect this to the bigger picture, it significantly enhances the baseline security posture across the entire AWS ecosystem. It's now a default for root users.
Makes total sense.
Yeah.
Any other notable security updates this week that caught your eye?
Couple more, yeah. AWS Certificate Manager, ACM, now offers exportable public certificates. For the first time, ACM supports issuing public TLS certificates that you can actually export and use anywhere. Within AWS, yes, but also in hybrid or even multi-cloud environments.
Exportable certs from ACM. That's new.
It is. You get access to the private key. They cost a flat fee, $15 per FQDN. $149 for a wildcard for 395 days. It could really simplify certificate management if you need certs outside of the tightly integrated AWS services.
Interesting auction. What else?
AWS Backup has launched multi-party approval for logically air-gapped vaults.
Logically air-gapped vaults.
Like, it sounds very
Secure.
That's the goal. Think of these as super secure, isolated backup locations. Even if your main AWS account gets compromised, accessing these backups for recovery requires separate approval from multiple authorized individuals.
So an extra layer of human approval, even beyond account compromise.
Exactly. It's a crucial final line of defense for robust disaster recovery and protection against, say, ransomware demanding deletion of backups.
Makes sense. And I think I heard something about making S3 errors easier to figure out. Those 403s can be frustrating.
You heard right. Amazon S3 now provides additional context for 403 access denied errors. Specifically for requests that happen within the same AWS organization, S3 errors will now include more detail.
Wait, what kind of detail?
Things like the type of policy that denied the access, the specific reason code, and information on the IMM user or role involved. It should significantly streamline troubleshooting those tricky access issues, save you a lot of time digging through policies.
That is welcome news. Okay, one last security one.
Sure. AWS WEF, the Web Application Firewall, has a simplified console experience. This update aims to reduce web app security configuration steps by, they claim, up to 80%.
80%. How?
By using pre-configured protection packs. These are based on AWS security expertise and offer broad coverage against common vulnerabilities, bots, DDoS attacks, API threats, and they're kind of customized to different application types. Easier setup.
Okay, simplifying web setup is definitely a good thing. All right, let's move beyond the core infrastructure and security. There were some great updates that seem to directly impact how developers build and deploy applications. What's standing out for dev workflows?
Absolutely. Definitely seeing features aimed at simplifying complex tasks, improving performance, and expanding integration points for developers.
Like what?
Well, AWS Step Functions now has TestState available in AWS GovCloud US regions. This feature lets you test individual states within your workflows without having to deploy the entire state machine.
Oh, testing just one piece. That sounds useful.
Extremely useful. It's excellent for validating things like input-output processing for a single step, checking AWS service integrations, or testing HTTP task requests in isolation. Really helps speed up development and troubleshooting for serverless workflows.
Makes sense. And for Lambda users, anything new there? Performance boosts, maybe?
Two big things for Lambda. First, native support for Avro and Protobuf formatted Kafka events.
Ah, direct support for those schemas.
Exactly. Lambda now directly supports these formats when using Apache Kafka as an event source, and it integrates with AWS Glue Schema Registry and also Confluent Schema Registries. This means you can validate, filter, and process Kafka events using these schemas without writing your own custom deserialization code.
Less boilerplate code. Nice.
Right. And you can even optimize costs by filtering events based on the schema before they even invoke your Lambda function.
Oh, filtering before invocation. That's smart for cost saving. What was the second Lambda update?
Performance. AWS Lambda SnapStart for Python and .NET functions has expanded to 23 additional regions.
SnapStart expansion. Remind us what SnapStart does.
SnapStart is an opt-in capability that dramatically improves cold start times for Lambda functions. It reduces them from potentially several seconds down to sub-second levels.
Sub-second cold starts.
Yeah, it works by caching the initialized execution environment.
Yeah.
So when a request comes in, it can often reuse that cached snapshot instead of initializing everything from scratch.
Sub-second cold starts for Python and .NET. I think every developer listening just collectively breathes a sigh of relief.
Yeah. Probably.
That's not just a technical spec, right? That's a direct improvement to user experience, potentially a huge reduction in operational overhead for many applications.
Absolutely.
What does that mean for someone building, say, a real-time API?
For a real-time API, it means much more consistent, low-latency responses. Even if you get sudden bursts of traffic, you don't necessarily need to maintain pre-warmed functions or over-provision quite as much. It dramatically improves the user experience and, yes, can lead to significant cost savings by optimizing resource usage. It's a very, very welcome update.
Fantastic. Okay, what about storage operations? Any improvements there, maybe for handling large data sets?
Yes, a really interesting one for Amazon S3 Express One Zone.
The high-performance S3 tier.
That's the one. It now supports atomic renaming of objects. There's a new Rename Object API, and it lets you rename existing objects atomically within the same directory bucket, crucially, with no data movement.
No data movement. How fast is it?
Extremely fast. For example, AWS says renaming a 1 terabyte log file can now complete in milliseconds instead of potentially hours.
Milliseconds instead of hours for a terabyte rename. Wow.
I know, right? I can almost hear the sighs of relief from data engineers who've spent weekends watching those S3 copy operations churn for renames.
Absolutely. That's a massive quality of life improvement for things like log file management, data analytics pipelines.
And it lowers costs, too, because you're not paying for the data copy operations.
Yeah.
Significant acceleration.
Definitely a game changer for certain workflows. Any updates on open source client libraries?
Yes, Valkey GLADE 2.0 was released, Valkey being the, open source fork of Redis.
Right.
GLADE is a client library for it. Version 2.0 now adds support for Go, integrates with OpenTelemetry for better observability, and introduces pipeline batching.
Pipeline batching.
Yeah, it lets you group multiple commands into a single network operation, so it optimizes performance for high-throughput workloads by reducing network round trips, more developer support, better observability, better performance.
Good progress on the Valkey front.
Yeah.
And for media and content delivery. Anything new in that space?
A couple of things. Amazon IVS Interactive Video Service real-time streaming now supports eRTMP multi-track video ingest. This basically allows streamers to send multiple video quality tracks simultaneously to an IVS stage.
enabling adaptive bitrate streaming for the viewers.
Exactly. So viewers get the best quality their connection can handle. It's supported in popular software like OBS Studio and comes at no additional cost.
Nice.
What else? Amazon CloudFront, the CDN, has a streamlined setup experience in the console now. It aims to simplify CDN setup significantly, automating things like DNS record creation with Route 53 and TLS certificate provisioning with ACM.
Easier onboarding for CloudFront.
That's the goal. They say you can create a secure, optimized distribution in as little as 30 seconds now. Optimized settings get applied automatically based on your origin type, lowering the barrier to entry for secure content delivery.
30 seconds is impressive.
Okay.
What about our high-performance computing users? Anything for them?
Yes, AWS Parallel Computing Service, or PCS, is now available in AWS GovCloud US regions. PCS simplifies building and managing HPC clusters that use Slurm. Slurm, for those maybe unfamiliar, is a very widely used open-source workload manager for job scheduling in the HPC world.
So easier Slurm cluster management in GovCloud.
Correct. And additionally, PCS now supports logging job completion metadata. You can send logs to CloudWatch Logs, S3, or Kinesis Data Firehose. This allows for detailed analysis of usage patterns, helps with troubleshooting, cost allocation, reporting, etc.
More visibility into HPC job execution.
Got it. And authorization within applications. I know that can be a really complex area to manage.
It definitely can be. Amazon Verified Permissions has a new open source package specifically for Express.js applications.
Express.js, the Node.js framework.
That's the one. This package simplifies adding authorization logic to your Express.js web APIs. It lets developers move that authorization logic out of their application code and into Cedar policies instead. Cedar is AWS's policy language for authorization.
So externalizing the authorization rules.
Exactly. Managed outside the code, significantly reducing the amount of custom authorization code developers need to write and maintain within the application itself. Makes it cleaner, easier to audit, easier to update policies. That sounds like a very good pattern. Okay, let's round out the updates now. We've seen some important changes in how AWS manages its ecosystem, partners, governance, and also, of course, continued global expansion.
Absolutely. These updates sort of reinforce AWS's commitment to specialized support and making services more broadly available.
What's an example on the ecosystem side?
Well, AWS License Manager now supports license type conversions for AWS Marketplace products. Initially, this is launching for Red Hat Enterprise Linux, or RHEL.
License type conversions. What does that let you do?
It allows customers to switch their Red Hat subscriptions between the AWS provided option and the Red Hat provided BOL option directly from the AWS Marketplace without having to redeploy their instances.
So switching billing support models for RHEL without downtime or redeployment.
Exactly. It's a big win for flexibility and potentially cost optimization, especially if you want to negotiate custom pricing directly with Red Hat but still manage it through Marketplace.
That's a great example of removing, operational friction for customers. What about partner programs? How are they helping customers find the right expertise?
2 competency updates here. First, an updated AWS Government Competency. This enhances how public sector customers find partners by introducing 3 clear categories: citizen services, defense and national security, and public safety. Streamlines the offerings, ensures rigorous technical validation for partners in those areas.
Clearer categories for government needs. Makes sense.
And similarly, there's a reimagined AWS MSSP competency that's for managed security service providers. It also has new, more specific categories like infrastructure security, workload security, application security, data protection, IAM, incident response, cyber recovery.
Getting much more granular.
Right. Helping customers find partners with specific turnkey security solutions and deep expertise in particular security domains rather than just general MSSP services.
Good for finding specialized help. Anything for the partners themselves.
Yes, AWS Marketplace has an enhanced selling authorization experience for ISVs, the independent software vendors. This streamlines the process for ISVs to manage their channel partner relationships, making it more efficient for them to authorize and scale their sales through partners on the marketplace.
Smoothing out the channel sales process.
Oh.
Okay. What about regional expansions for other key services? Where are things popping up now?
Let's see. AWS Payment Cryptography has expanded its regional presence. It's now available in AWS Asia Pacific, Mumbai, and Asia Pacific, Osaka. This helps support low-latency payment applications closer to customers in those regions and also enables multi-region high-availability options.
Payment crypto closer to the users.
Right. AWS Backup Audit Manager is now available in 6 additional regions. This expands your ability to audit and report on data protection policy compliance across more geographies, helping meet business and regulatory needs.
Broader reach for compliance auditing.
And Amazon MSK Managed Streaming for Kafka has expanded its express brokers to Mexico, Central, and Asia-Pacific Thailand regions.
MSK Express Brokers. What's the benefit there?
Express brokers deliver significantly higher performance. Up to 3x more throughput per broker, they scale up to 20x faster, and they reduce recovery time by 90% compared to standard Kafka brokers. They come pre-configured with Kafka best practices.
Faster, more resilient Kafka in more places.
Got it. And for those eager to try out the very latest database features, maybe before they're fully baked for production.
Yes, Amazon RDS for MySQL has announced its Innovation Release 9.3 is now available in the database preview environment. This lets you evaluate the absolute latest MySQL innovation release in a fully managed preview environment before it becomes generally available.
So you get early access to test new features, bug fixes.
Exactly. Helps you prepare for future upgrades and give feedback.
Good for staying ahead of the curve. Okay, lastly, any governance or maybe API level enhancements that simplify large-scale management?
2 quick ones there. First, AWS has expanded support for resource control policies, or RCPs. They now cover Amazon Elastic Container Registry, ECR, and Amazon OpenSearch Serverless. RCPs for ECR and OpenSearch Serverless.
Right. This enhances your ability to centrally establish a data perimeter using these policies across a wider range of AWS resources within your organization. More centralized control.
Makes sense for governance. And the last one.
For automation folks, Amazon EC2 Auto Scaling now offers the ability to filter out instance details from the Describe Auto Scaling Group's API call. By setting a parameter, include instances, to false, you can significantly reduce the API response size and potentially improve the response time.
Useful for scripts or tools hitting that API frequently in large environments. Less data, faster response.
Exactly. Valuable for automation and large-scale operations.
Phew, what a week for AWS. That was a lot to cover. From really powerful new compute options enabling incredible performance to significant enhancements in security and developer tooling that genuinely seems to simplify complex tasks. It's clear the focus is on enabling technical users, like you listening, to build more secure, more performant, and hopefully more cost-efficient applications.
Indeed. Yeah, if we try to connect this to the bigger picture, many of these updates really demonstrate a maturing of existing services. They're adding more fine-grained control, deeper insights, and just broader regional reach.
Right. Less about brand new services, more about enhancing the core.
To some extent, yes. And the emphasis on shift-left security with Inspector and that enhanced threat detection and guard duty for EKS, those really stand out. They genuinely allow teams to identify and remediate security issues much, much earlier in the development lifecycle. That's a big deal.
It really is. And the continued investment in Graviton processors running alongside the latest Intel Xeons, it just highlights the sheer choice and flexibility AWS provides for all sorts of diverse workloads. It does raise a question, though. Are there any key trade-offs someone should actively consider when choosing between, say, a cutting-edge Graviton instance and maybe a newer Intel-based one for a specific application?
That's an excellent question. It's not always a simple choice. While Graviton, especially Graviton 4 now, offers fantastic price performance and energy efficiency, certain highly specialized applications might still see better immediate compatibility or perhaps more optimized performance on Intel, particularly if they rely heavily on specific instruction sets like AVX 512, for example, which might not be fully leveraged by Graviton yet, or if there are tricky software licensing constraints tied to by 86.
Right, so compatibility and specific instruction sets are key considerations.
Exactly. It really comes down to benchmarking your specific workload on both platforms if possible and carefully understanding your software dependencies and licensing models. There's no single right answer for everyone.
That's a fantastic point. Benchmark, test, and consider the whole stack.
Precisely.
It really makes you rethink things, doesn't it? Maybe revisit some architectural decisions or technical debt.
It should.
The pace of innovation here means that what was maybe a complex workaround yesterday might actually be a simple managed feature today. Like that S3 atomic rename.
Exactly. Or Lambda snap start solving cold start pains.
We really hope this deep dive helps you navigate the latest AWS landscape and maybe uncover some new opportunities for your own projects. Until next time, keep building and stay curious.